You know it's almost Christmas, and that means it's time for a new barrel. My gunsmith just got done chambering this guy up for me and did beautiful machine work. And I need to put it on my rifle. But the YouTube rules won't allow me to show you the assembly processes, so you'll have to take my word for it. I'm going to spin this one on. The next time you see it, it will be on the rifle. Today's question is about barrel break-in. I've had several questions about how I break in barrels, so let's talk about that, as it's the first thing I need to do with this barrel anyway. Before I begin breaking in a barrel, I bore scope it. The reason for it is, on my part, absolute voyeurism. I like looking at things, especially machine things. Good machine work is a thing of beauty, and I really like looking at it. Looking at this machine work, it's absolutely precise stuff, just exactly what you would want. But there is something to notice. The marks from the reamer, which are absolutely normal and not a problem whatsoever, show that there's going to be burrs in here. The burrs are from my cutting process and has nothing to do with gunsmith technique. Please don't go off the rails in the comments about how bad a gunsmith my gunsmith is. He's a great gunsmith and does great work for me, as you can tell from all the wins that I've accumulated. That said, we can do something about the burrs before we start shooting the barrel. So we're going to take JB Bore Paste, a patch, a worn brush, and my cleaning rod, and we're going to give that throat a little scrub. Now, the number of strokes is up to you, what you decide to do there, but for me, I do anywhere from 50 to 100 strokes on that first couple of inches of barrel, and I try not to get the same stroke length on more than a couple of strokes. So I'm really varying it so I'm not putting a step in the barrel. JB Bore Paste does not wear steel very fast, and it's pretty unlikely that you would create a problem, but why chance it? Let's take a look at what I have after I've scrubbed it with JB Bore Paste. To me, this looks better. It's all shiny, most of the reamer marks are down, and the burrs look to be knocked off of the corners of the lands. This is all I really wanted, because if I didn't do this, the first shot down the barrel would do it for me. And that would then deposit a huge amount of copper in the barrel, which I would then have to remove. And I hate removing copper from barrels. So I just saved myself a little copper cleaning. That's all this did. If you don't have the bore scope and you don't want to scrub it with JB Bore Paste, don't. There's no real reason to do it other than laziness on my part. All right, let's load some ammo. The key here is to have a safe load for your rifle. If you don't know your cartridge, pick a starting load and use that. You can work up slowly while you're doing barrel break-in, but remember, the barrel will be slow at first, and that means the pressure will be down below normal, which means if you find max during that initial break-in period, that load is going to be well over max once the barrel breaks in. So do be careful about getting too high up the ladder. I have stuff fuzzed out here. I hate to do this, but looking at YouTube's rules, I can't make heads or tails of them. And I can't tell if I'm allowed to show you this or not, so it's fuzzed out, guys. I'm just trying to make sure that this channel stays on YouTube and doesn't disappear someday. So I loaded 79 rounds of ammo. And that's enough for this first trip to the range. In doing this, the goal is to shoot rounds through the barrel. A lot of rounds, because I need to get to that 120 to 150 round point before I finish up my load development. So I get to shoot a practice session before I start shooting it to actually do load development, which comes to the point of having good data from a previous barrel. I have 12 or 14 284 barrels back here that have been through the mill with me, and I have a really good idea where H4350 is going to end up on a barrel. So I shoot the low end of the range to make sure that I do it safely. And yet, I go out there with a load that is likely to have good accuracy all throughout that range as it breaks in. Loading's done, car's loaded, it's time to go to the range. I drive down to Cascade Shooting Facilities in Ravensdale, Washington. This is almost an hour and a half drive for me, so I don't want to waste a trip to shoot 15 or 20 rounds. If I'm going to go there and shoot, I'm going to shoot a lot. When I get to the range, it is cold, it is blowing, and it is raining. It's really uncomfortable out here, so we're going to do this as quickly as we reasonably can without overheating the barrel in the process. We'll get to that in a moment. The first thing I'm going to do is set up and shoot 5 rounds through the barrel. It is now time to clean the barrel the first time. This is not necessary. It's not necessary in any way, shape, or form. It's another matter of my laziness. I don't want to have to scrub a bunch of copper out when I get home. If I knock the copper out now, it's a lot easier to clean when I get home again. Once again, not necessary, just the way I do it. From here, I'm going to shoot several batches of 20 rounds to get the rest of the rounds through the rifle, with the exception of the very last batch. And we'll talk about that in a moment. The key here is to keep the barrel temperature down. So I shoot no more than 22 rounds at a time, and I try to shoot no faster than match pace. This barrel is going to get abused as it gets older, so it has to be able to handle the temperature, but there's no reason to get the interior of the barrel flaming hot if you don't have to. I take my time and shoot my rounds and get a little practice in the process. You know, the wind is howling out here. This is great fun. It's blowing me all over the target, and I'm enjoying every moment of it. We're now to the point where we have 65 rounds through the barrel. It's time to do an accuracy check on it. I have good ammunition for this. Everything prior to this was culled bullets and extra pieces and parts and just junk from everywhere, leftover powder, whatever I happen to have, because I really wasn't interested in the accuracy of it. Now I'm interested in accuracy. So I have bullets that came out of my current batch. Well, 12 of them are from my current batch. The other 2 are pointed bullets from a pointing test that I did. I'm going to use those 2 as sighters, and then I'm going to shoot 12 rounds to just see how the barrel tends to group. Remember, we're not in the node. As a matter of fact, the velocity at 2750 now is well below the node. But we're going to see if the barrel will stay together even when it's out of the node. Sheets of rain start falling. It just absolutely whites out the target to where I can barely make out a hazy black blob out there. Forget lines, forget letters, forget even the orange spot that's in the middle of the target is gone. There is nothing to aim at, and I'm depending on the tracking of the rifle stock to aim the rifle. I fire 12 rounds at a reasonably quick pace to try to take advantage of whatever opportunity I may have between wind gusts, and I get this group, which shows me that this barrel has a huge amount of promise. Being so far out of the node and shooting a group that small, even though it's going back and forth with the wind, tells me that this is going to be a good barrel. It's now time to pack everything up and go home. Because honestly, who wants to be out in this rain? Upon getting home, I'm going to clean the barrel again. I just want to get all the junk out of it that I created during this break-in process. And it takes a few patches, some KG12 and some Vortec Eliminator, but it comes clean pretty easily. From here, I'm going to start my load development process because I'm trying a new powder. If you want to see the results of my testing with various powders, you need to go over to my Patreon page. My patrons get to see all of my load data, the stuff that I can't put up here on YouTube. In summary, barrel break-in for me, in my method, is pretty simple. Before I start, I clean the barrel. I then fire 5 rounds through the barrel and clean the barrel again. I then fire about 75 to 80 rounds before I clean it again. Then I start load development. Really simple process, and it doesn't take that much time to do. You can do it in one day. I realize that my break-in process is quite a bit different from some other people on the internet. And I'm not saying that theirs is wrong and mine's right. As a matter of fact, I don't think that a break-in process is all that necessary. This is just the way that I do things. And honestly, I have not seen any difference in my barrels from doing the shoot one, clean one to what I'm doing now. So do what you think is right for your barrel in your situation. If you have any comments, you know where to put them. As always, thank you for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you.